Hi and welcome back to the Free Swatches channel. Well, firstly I want to say thank you and welcome to all of the new subscribers we've had over the weekend. So we put the video out on Friday where we showed this concept, as it were, of looking for a watch for £100 and to hopefully turn it into a Rolex wristwatch. And we've had a really good response to the first video, so once again welcome and thanks very much to everyone who's joining us on this journey. The other thing I wanted to cover was that I've had a lot of really interesting comments about the way I dealt with like trying to buy the first watch. If you haven't seen the video yet, this is number 2 in the series. So number 1, there'll be a link just up there for you. So please feel free to click on that and head back to the first video. If you've already seen the first video, you'll know that I bought a Tissot C-Star watch and I paid £80 for it. So I've had quite a few comments and I thought it'd be useful to go over those simply because if anyone's actually looking to sort of follow along or maybe looking for some tips to buying watches on eBay and stuff, I'm completely new to this, so hopefully my experience of learning what I'm doing and trying to actually, buy a watch and sell a watch on eBay will be useful. So the points that have been raised, the first one, I've had a few people mention this, the auction that I bought the watch from was a buy it now, but it also said you can make an offer on the watch. And according to everyone who's been in touch with me, who clearly know more about this than I do, because as I say, this is certainly nothing that I'm particularly knowledgeable about, if you make an offer, there's a good chance you're going to get some money off. So what I should have done there really probably was to have said, maybe offered them, started at £60 or something like that, to see where we got to, because I paid straight away, buy it now, £80 for the watch. So that would have probably been a useful thing to do to help save us some money as we move along, trying to trade up, because in this situation it is a numbers game. Obviously we're going to be going from an £80 watch to a watch that's going to be £2,000, so any savings we can make is going to equate to more money in the long term to help us get to that Rolex wristwatch that I'm going to try and buy. So thanks very much for making that point, that was really useful. Some other people have suggested potential watches to move on to, and that's been really interesting. I'm quite excited to see what comes up and what we get the chance to buy. I'm also aware that I want to try and make this an interesting journey, so I want to make sure that the watches I buy aren't that boring, and hopefully they're going to offer some variety and some interest to the videos as well. So we'll see how we get on. Anyway, the good news is our first watch has arrived. So in this box here, which looks quite neatly packaged, is our first watch that we bought in the last week's video. This is the Tissot C-Star, I hope. I don't know for certain because I'm going to open it now on camera. So we've got the 2 cameras running. I'm talking to you in this one. We've got a camera over here, which hopefully we're going to do some close-ups of the watch as well. So we're going to get onto that now. Might as well just get on with it and get this parcel open. So yeah, really don't know what to expect here. The watch looked good in the photos, of course, but I'm not sure entirely what we've got. So let's just try and get in here. Right. Yeah. So I think when did we get the watch? I think it took about 3 or 4 days to turn up, which isn't bad. That's what we got in here. So we've got that must be the watch. Got a few bits of brown paper there. Nothing else in the box. That's that. So we'll get rid of that. So here we are. Let's see what we got. Right, nothing in there. Okay, so as I mentioned in the last video, I'm a little bit sentimental about this watch. It reminds me a lot of my dad's Tissot watch that he had. But first impressions, it's looking good. So let's put the watch down here. Let's have a look. Yeah, it looks exactly as it did in the photos. Everything's nice and clean. Right, one thing I didn't notice in the description and in the first photos is this model is actually a chrome case with a stainless steel back and stainless steel bezel. So that's slightly different to what I thought it was. So I think we could maybe call that my first mistake. I was hoping to get a completely stainless steel case, but at the same time, it is in really nice condition. So that is a good thing, and I'm quite pleased about that. So let's have a look, see if the back's going to. Oh yeah, I've got the back turning, so that's good. Let's have a look in the back. Oh wow, yeah, the movement looks great. So yeah, we've got a nice, clean-looking movement. To me, this doesn't look like it's had much attention in the way of servicing, which is always, it's a nice thing because well, if a watch hasn't been serviced that many times and you come to service it, then the plating on the movement always looks really good. And this watch really does look fairly untouched. The movement ring is in good condition. All the screws are present. Let's give it a, yep, balance is swinging reasonably well. So yeah, that's looking good. What I'm going to be doing a bit later in the video, I'm going to set up the camera on my bench and we're going to take the watch apart and actually have a look at the movement. Because the plan is to get this watch completely 100% before I sell it. So what I want to do obviously is to service the movement. I want to go through it entirely, check everything's okay. Because when I list this watch back on eBay, one of the things I can do to add value is to say I've serviced the watch. So I'm obviously going to be doing that because I'm quite happy to offer a guarantee. A lot of the watches that you buy on eBay, I mean, this is a good example really. This watch here was sold as a, you know, you would buy this quite easily thinking that this watch was actually going to be working fine. It was just, but I can tell just by looking at the movement it's in desperate need of a service. So hopefully by putting on the listing that this watch is 100% serviced and ready to go, that will add some value to it. Excuse me. So let's just put the back on for a minute and we're going to go back round and have a look. So I'm really happy initially with what we've got. Let's say shame about the chrome case, but this is an £80 watch of course, and I think that being realistic, you know, what can we really expect for £80? Well, I think this is a reasonable place to start. Obviously when we take it apart at the bench in a minute and have a look inside, there might be some more surprises, but hopefully so far everything's looking good. The watch has turned up, it is what they said it was going to be. The only disappointment, as I say, I would have liked a completely stainless steel case, but on a positive note, the case is in good condition, so that's a bonus. Okay, so what we'll do then, I'm going to take you over to the bench and we'll go and get set up on there, and I'll start to take the watch apart, and I can talk through the process of taking the watch apart and explain to you what I'm going to do to it and how we're going to make sure it's running, you know, really well. So we'll see you at the bench in a sec. Hi, so here we are at the bench. Got the Tissot in front of me, and I'm all ready to take the watch apart now. So the idea really is to go through the whole watch, look at every single part and see what we need to do. Obviously it's going to have a full service, so every single component has to come out of the watch and be checked. So that's what we're going to be doing in this section of the video, taking the watch apart entirely and just having a look, see what we've got. So I'm going to start by taking the strap off. Fortunately on this watch we've got drilled lugs, which is good because this means that we can go from the side and we can just push into the spring bars on the side there and release the strap. The spring bars don't look very good either, so they're going to need to be replaced. As you can see that, you can see it's really quite a worn out spring bar. Always good to replace those. So we'll take those out there. One of the disadvantages with drilled lugs is that they can, the holes can get bigger over time. But these are looking pretty good, these holes. So that's all right, that's good news. This strap, it's a nice old vintage strap, but it's a cheap strap. It's from the days when you used to have like thick watches with fixed bars, like trench watches and so on, and they've got these little metal clips on the back that you can undo to fold around the spring bar. It's quite an old strap. I mean, it's obviously a replacement strap, it's not original Tissot, you can tell from the buckle, but I'm going to put it to one side. We won't be using it. We want to put this back with a nice strap, which I've ordered, so that'll be on the way soon. So now I've got the strap out of the way. I'm just going to, what we're going to do now is take the stem out. Now with this, this is a caliber 2451, Tissot caliber. It's in their own manufacture. It's a very nice, attractive and very simple movement. We're going to start by taking the crown out. So what I'm going to do is to press down onto the setting lever. Press down and then out comes our stem there. So my method for taking a watch apart is to check every single component as it arrives in front of me. So obviously to start with the stem, I'm just going to check the condition of the stem. You're really looking for the where the thread is, where the crown is screwed on. You just want to see if there's any rust on there. This is absolutely perfect. It's also designed where you have the seal inside of the tube. So there's no seal inside of the crown. So this is quite good for me because it means I can actually put this crown into the cleaning machine. I can clean it up first to minimise putting any dirt in there, but it's nice to do that so I can keep the stem in with the keyless. Right, so that's all out. So now we're going to take the movement out. So I'm just going to lever from the side there. You can see the movement's come loose and we're out. So the case is going to need to be dealt with later, but for now I'm just going to concern myself with the movement. So we'll put the case there. Whilst we're on the subject, this being a Tissot watch, it's got the reference number in the case back. It's got the Tissot logo. It says, CHS Tissot Fils, Tissot Fab Suisse, Fond Acier Inoxydable, which is obviously stainless steel, reference 41520-7. Watchmakers used to engrave their repair numbers in the back, and it's always interesting when you get a new watch to look at this. So I'm just having a look now, and I can see the watch has had at least at least 2 services or interventions in the past. We've got a number here which is from 1990, so that was repaired, yeah, obviously 32 years ago. Well, that was April 90. And we've got one here, I'm just trying to read, which I can't work out. It looks like a 9 and some other numbers. Probably means more to the person who repaired it than to me. It's certainly interesting to see that. Okay, so now our next job, we need to get the movement ring off and dial hands off of the movements so that we're then able to work on the movements in isolation. So I'll start by taking the case screw, or the casing, the screws, the screws out for the movement ring on the side here. I was trying to avoid using the archaic word dog screws, which is what they're called. So that's one screw loosened up, and to undo the other one, a slightly bigger screwdriver. There we go. So we've got those 2 screws loosened up now. So if I tip that up, both the screws have fallen out there. I always like to do this when I'm repairing watches. You don't really want to be going near the watch with your tweezers unless you have to, because you could scratch it. So if I just tip it up, it saves me sort of, digging around and scratching the movement and so on. Okay, so 2 screws out. So the good thing about having these finger cots on is you can touch the movement to actually remove the movement ring. So the movement ring I won't put through the cleaner because I'll just be cleaning that myself by hand, but it's pretty good. It's very good condition, which is nice. So I'll put these. What I'll do here, I've got this cleaning basket. This goes into the cleaning machine, so I'm going to start to put the parts into here because we're obviously going to put everything into the cleaning machine, get the movement completely clean. So I'll start putting the casing clamp screws in. Next up, dial on hands. So I'm going to put the stem back in. That's gone in okay. Sometimes the sometimes the setting lever can jump out of position. Okay, but on this occasion we're fine. So what I've done, I put the stem back in, and this allows me to adjust the hands, of course. What I want to do is to line the hands up at 12 o'clock, so that I'm able to take all the hands off in one go. Excuse me. So this carrier bag here is going to go over the top of the dial, and this will allow us to remove the hands without damaging the dial. So it's a clean bag every time. So the bag goes on there. I'm just going to give that little wiggle to get the balance going, get the seconds hand up to 12 o'clock. There we go. So hand levers. Just give me my hand levers. Here are the hand levers. I'm just going to lever the hands off now. When I do this, you've got to be extremely careful. Obviously the dial and the hands, the parts that everyone sees, you really don't want to damage those at all. So I'm just going to gently lever those hands off, and they're now loose, and I'm able to, once again, rather than digging around the tweezers, just tip the watch up, and then obviously the hands are loose. So working with the same approach, I'm going to look at the hands now and see the overall condition if we need to do anything. Excuse me, sort of recovering from a bit of a cold, something of a cough at the moment. Right, so looking at the hands, they do look like they could, if I were to run some blue tack over those, they will actually clean up. So I'll do that now, so that they're done. So I place the hand into one of these holes on this staking block. And I'm going to use a piece of blue tack to just wipe over the hands and just to get rid of, what happens, you tend to get a slight sort of, I don't know sort of what you describe it, you could say it's just some marks on the top which can come off. So I'm just going to run that over the top there, and that's actually made the hand nice and shiny, and it's removed some little marks that are on there. I think years ago watchmakers didn't used to worry so much about the aesthetics. These were much more functional items, so people didn't tend to do that sort of thing. But obviously it's quite important these days in the world of sort of vintage watches. When you're collecting these things, you want everything to look as good as it can do. So once again, just removing a couple of marks from the minute hand there. You don't want to go mad with it, it's just a very light wipe. Blue tack's invaluable when you repair watches. I use blue tack. Most watchmakers use something called Rolex, which is made by Bergeron. It's not, to me, I prefer this. There we are. So off with the dial. So let's have a look. So these dials are actually just interference fitted into plastic bushes. So it sort of simplifies things, you know, because dial screws, the screws that hold dials in quite often fall out. So I think that was the reason why they came up with that design. So all I need to do is use my hand lever just to lever the dial off, which I'm just doing at the moment. You have to be careful when you do this. You need to lever near the dial feet, otherwise you can bend the dial. So there's our dial off. You'll be able to see the dial feet there. It's nice to see this has got both dial feet. It's quite a common problem with older watches that the feet have been separated from the dial. But this dial is in exceptional condition. It's like new, really. It's one of the things that attracted me to the watch, was how clean it is. One thing I did notice, there's little loom markers on it, and some of them are missing. So I'll probably just touch those in with some suitable coloured loom, just to make sure that we can sort of keep the watch looking original. I'll colour match it, and it will just improve the overall appearance of the watch. But that's something to be done a bit later on, because obviously we're just going through and sort of concentrating on the movement at the moment. Right, onto the movement. I'm trying to keep this up at some sort of pace, because obviously I'm aware of the length of the video and I don't want to sort of overdo it, and in terms of like time length and stuff. So I am trying to go through this quite quickly, but hopefully it will show the process of taking the watch apart reasonably well. This is a movement holder. So these are invaluable when taking movements apart, because they allow you to clamp the movements. Years ago, watchmakers would sort of hold the movement in one hand and use a screwdriver in the other. It's not a particularly good way of doing it, simply because you lose a bit of stability when you do that, because obviously you've got two hands moving, and that's not ideal. So we screw the movement holder tight onto the side of the movement, like so. There we are. So we can see we're now in a position where we can start to work on the watch. First thing I'm going to do, put my eyeglass in, is to wind the watch up, because this will check to see if the mainspring is broken, because I want to know now if it's got a broken mainspring. So I'm just waiting, as it's a mechanical movement that winds up, it should just come up to a point where it won't wind any further. So we just keep winding, and if it comes to that point where it stops, then we know we've got a good mainspring. If it just keeps winding, then we haven't, we've got a broken mainspring. Right, so it's all good. One nice thing to see is that the balance wheel is actually starting to work now. It's just the balance wheel here is starting to move, which indicates that some of the power is coming through. Although admittedly it's not, the action on the balance isn't quite what you'd want it to be. But that's the purpose of the service, to try and get everything completely clean, so that we can in fact get this working really well, get it regulated, get the watch accurate. So, next thing is to take the power off of the mainspring. So I'm just going to turn the crown. I'm going to put my tweezers onto the click here, and then I'm just going to gradually let the power slip down through my fingers using the crown. So now, I don't know if you can hear that, that's clicking. Come to the mainspring being completely unwound, balance isn't swinging anymore. We're now good to take the movement apart. So we want to do a complete disassembly of the movement. So I'm going to start with the screws. So start with the screws for the barrel bridge, one there. There's one there that also holds the click into position. Okay, whilst I've got this screwdriver, I'm going to do the screws for the train bridge as well. There are 3 of those, that's 1, 2, and the third one around here. There we go. So let's take the screws out. When you take these out, I've got to be careful. I don't want to scratch the plates at all. It's a matter of pride, I suppose, with watchmaking and with watch repair, that you don't make any marks on the movement. You want it to remain in good condition. This movement is in really nice condition, so obviously I want to keep it like that. So that's one screw out. We put them straight in for cleaning. Actually, I didn't put that one in, did I? Straight in for cleaning over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, just counting them in to make sure everything's okay. So that's the 5th one there, which is the screw for the click. That's a different screw. It's got a blank section underneath it for the click to work on. I'm going to take the click out, which is just there, and that can go in with the screws as well. So now we've got the big screw, which is the this one here. Oh, so you can see that as the ratchet wheel screw just there. So I'm going to undo that screw, and that will allow us to take the ratchet wheel off. So this is how the watch gets wound up. When you turn the crown, it turns the crown wheel here, turns the ratchet wheel. The ratchet wheel is attached to the barrel, which then, the arbor, which is in the barrel with the mainspring, and it winds the mainspring up. So that's that screw out there. Now, I'm on to functioning parts, so I've got to be a bit slower, because what I need to do is to check the condition. For example, if we were to look at this ratchet wheel here, I need to make sure all the teeth are there, and that none of the teeth have been broken or damaged at all. So we're just going to inspect that part. The other thing you can do with blue tack is to get any residual oil off. There is some oil here, excuse me, in the centre, which I'm just going to clean up now. And it's quite dirty on the underside, so the good thing about doing this is it keeps the fluids in the cleaning machine nice and clean if you remove the dirt before the parts go in. So that's our ratchet wheel. So I'm going to start to load the parts in now. That's our ratchet wheel. So here we have a spring. This spring here is the one that, I don't know if you can see that, it's quite a small spring. It actually keeps the click engaged with the ratchet wheel and helps to hold the watch in a wound up position. I'm not going to put that in the cleaning machine because it will just poke through the holes in the basket. Could get broken or bent. So we want to retain that in its existing condition. So that's going to stay out with the dial on the hands. So now you'll be able to start to see some big differences because we're going to take the plates off. So that is the barrel bridge. So barrel bridge has come off and there's our barrel underneath. We'll pop that in. Here comes our barrel. So there's our barrel there. Okay, just going to put that to one side. Then the train bridge has just fallen off. I'm not going to complain, it's nice and easy. So there we are, there's our train bridge. I don't know if you can see that, if I turn it over, you'll be able to see like a dark area around here where the stem goes through. It really is quite, it's quite dirty. Quite a common place for it to get dirty because you have to have lubrication in that area, and any area that you have lubrication in a watch movement will invariably attract dirt. And so it's the dirt that causes watches to stop generally, and so I've wiped that off now. That's good, all nice and clean. That can go into the cleaner as well. Out with the train. So we've got a second wheel, which has the seconds hand on it. That goes straight through the middle of the movements, has the seconds hand on the tip of it, and that just comes straight out. I just need to check the teeth for condition. And also with these, you have to check that the pivot is completely straight, because quite often when the hand gets pushed onto the other side of it, it can get bent if it's not pushed on correctly. The wheel looks absolutely fine, which is good. I mean, I've got quite a bit of confidence in this movement because of the overall condition. So I'm just going to carry on just taking these parts off for now. Here we go. And we've got 2 screws here for a plate, which we need to remove. So I'm just going to do that. So this plate is just designed to hold the centre wheel into position, and it also has a jewel in it for the seconds wheel. So put the screws into there, so screws, and there's a jewel up here where the seconds pinion goes straight through. It's all in good condition, everything's fine. Escape wheel, just check the pivots, check the teeth. These don't generally go wrong because this is at the end of the train where the power has got right down to the escapement. It doesn't have quite so much power going directly onto this component, so not generally a part that wears. Okay, so what we need to do now is to take the balance out in order to remove the pallets, and we also need to take out the centre wheel. So let's just do that. So the balance comes out. This is probably one of the most delicate components because it has this spring, and what we don't want to do obviously is to get the spring bent at all. So I take it out and just rest it on the bench there. We're now able to take out the pallets, the pallet cock, the part that holds the pallets into position, and we can take out the centre wheel as well. So that's 2 screws there. One, 2. Take out the bridge for the pallets. With the pallets, I'm just going to be checking the alignment of the jewels on the end, because they can become loose. They're just held in place by what used to be called shellac, but you and I would probably know as glue in modern day terms. All looks fine, so pop that in. And the centre wheel will come out once we've removed some components on the other side. We have an hour wheel, which obviously needs to be cleaned after I've checked the teeth. All teeth present and correct. That's our hour wheel washer that puts tension onto the hour wheel and keeps it in position. Stops the hands from going out of sync. We'll leave that to one side. Now we're going to remove the Canon pinion. So the Canon pinion is the part that transfers the power from the train side onto the dial side, and then subsequently the hands move from there. So we'll take that out. So now it's just a case of removing the keyless parts. We have 2 screws. We have a screw for the setting lever spring. Out you come. And we have a screw for a little bridge here that covers up the minute wheel. So that screw we can loosen up as well. I would normally have this in the movement holder, but it's just 2 screws. And as I said, I am aware that I need to get this done in a reasonable time, otherwise the video will be really long. So we'll take that off. We're then going to take off our minute wheel, setting wheel, take off the screw for the setting lever spring, which we'll put in with the other screws. Setting lever coming out, there we go. Putting the keyless parts in, this is the keyless here, putting those into a separate section. Next up we have a spring here, which is for the yoke. Now the yoke allows you to engage either the hand setting or the winding position, and needs a spring on it to push the yoke back towards the winding pinion in order to wind the watch up. So the yoke's going to come out now. It's quite tight, the yoke, and often the case. I usually find it quite good to use a bit of blue tack here, because you can just lift it up and put it out, and even that isn't working. This is the usual sort of issues you have taking these old movements apart. There we go. So there's our yoke. That's just a straightforward piece of hardened steel. It all looks to be in good condition. So now I can push the setting lever out. That's the setting lever. And then we can take the last 3 components out, which are stem, the clutch wheel and the winding pinion, the 2 wheels that allow us to either set the time or wind the watch up. I'm going to have a good look at those, but there's our movement all taken apart, and I'm going to stop the video now because I need to get all these parts into the cleaner. Well, thanks very much for sticking with the video. I hope that was interesting to see the new watch, and what we're going to do in the next video, we're going to have the watch already up for sale, and I'm going to do the video about the process of taking the photographs of the watch, showing you the complete watch, and also getting the watch listed onto eBay. So then we'll be able to tell you where the watch is going to be for sale. So if you want to have a bid, you can have a bid, you know. I mean, it'd be really great if anyone wants to watch, you know, after they've seen it being taken apart. So hopefully it was interesting today to see the watch being taken apart, see what we got for our money. Please, if you haven't subscribed, go for it and hit the subscribe button, because this series is going to be going for some time, I think. Based on what we've got here, I think, you know, I'm not going to make a lot of money here. I think we're going to be doing quite a few steps, and I hope it's going to be an interesting journey. So please, you know, hit the subscribe and get that bell clicked for the notifications. In the comments section, if I've done anything wrong today, if you think, you know, I'm still, you know, I need to rethink the way I'm going about this this process, please let me know, because I'm really keen to get advice. As I say, I'm not someone that buys and sells watches. I'm not someone who trades on eBay. So any advice I can get will be greatly received. So please feel free to comment below. Tell me what you think I should be doing. What do you think I could be maybe buying next? You know, what's the next thing on the cards in terms of, you know, eBay searches? Because once we've sold this watch, hopefully, our next stage is going to be back on eBay looking for more watches. And I'm expecting that to be a more in-depth process next time, because hopefully I can apply what I've learnt this time. I can be a little bit more careful about what I've bought, and maybe really get that bargain that's going to get us, you know, a nice profit and move us on towards that Rolex. So thanks again for watching, and look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye for now.